So I read over 100 books in 2020, and here are the tips that I used to get to that amount last year. So that way in future years, or even 2021, you guys can get to that amount as well. So let's get started. Alright guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Zach with Zach's Books, and today I've got for you 10 tips and tricks to help you with reading more books, being more intrigued with books and stuff like that. These are tips that I kind of used previously in this last year to help me get to over my 100 book, I wouldn't say it was a goal, because my goal on Goodreads last year was only like 25 or something like that. I had low expectations for myself. But to kind of help me get to 100 books last year, and hopefully they'll help you out, and I wouldn't say read 100 books, but it'll help you read a lot more books coming soon. So let's start the list. Alright, so tip number 1. Set yourself a yearly goal. Doesn't necessarily need to be 100 books or 75 books or 50 books. It doesn't matter. As long as you set yourself a goal and you aim to reach it, then you are perfectly fine. It could be 10 books. It could even be 5 books. As long as you reach your goal by the end of the year, you're good. I didn't aim for 100 books last year. I only aimed for 20. And I ended up reading 100 or 100 and more because I had more time to do it. And I followed some more of my tips that I'm going to share with you here in the next couple minutes. But set yourself a yearly goal. That is the big thing that you need to do. To go along with that, what you should do is find a service where you can track your books, like Goodreads. I use Goodreads myself. It's also just kind of feels good when you're able to check a book off and you see your little bar going across the screen, getting closer to your goal. I find that satisfying. There are other services. I can't think of them off the top of my head, but Goodreads is the one that I use. I really recommend it, so I would go with that. You know, you're able to check off your books and see how far along you're coming. What I would also do with the Goodreads front is follow authors, follow friends, follow people on there. You have that ability because then you can see what other people are reading, what authors might be coming out with. I know sometimes like books like that sometimes kind of get revealed. And you can also see what authors are reading too if it's something that intrigues you. I mean, I guess that can technically be considered another type of tip is kind of stuff like that, is following people on Goodreads because it'll show you what other people are reading, see if that might intrigue you into reading it. Like, you know, if you like this person, they're reading this book, hey, maybe that's a book I can read. You know, just stuff like that. Follow people, see what other people are reading on Goodreads. That's a big thing. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2. Set yourself a timer or a page count that you want to hit for a day, for the week, so you can try and reach your goal weekly or daily. The other key thing you want to do with that is put your phone somewhere else. Don't have that with you because it will distract you. That or silence it. Put it on silent and you'll be way better off. The other thing you can do with that is set yourself up with a vibe. You know, sit next to a fireplace, sit on a couch, sit on a chair, lay in bed. Find somewhere cozy where you're going to be more comfortable with reading. That's going to be the big key factor, is making sure you're comfortable when you're reading. If you're uncomfortable, the book is not going to be good for you. And I've learned that a few times. So make sure you're comfy, cozy, and make sure your phone is away from you. Alright, tip number 3. Don't be afraid to DNF a book. Did not finish, if you don't know what DNF stands for. So basically what that's saying is don't get stuck in a book that you don't like, move on from it. There's a couple of books that I have actually DNF'd because I did not enjoy the story. There are a couple that I've kept on my shelf because I am not intrigued with them right at the moment after starting them and reading them for a little while. And it's ones that I'm probably going to go back to later on, but I don't want it to stop me from reaching my goal. So I set it aside and pick up something different and get intrigued with that. You don't want to force yourself to read a book just to finish a book because it's going to set the tone that you're going to get stuck and you're not going to want to read that book and you're going to slow yourself down completely. And it's not going to be a fun time. So there is tip number 3. Tip number 4, audiobooks. I will say with this, some people do not consider this reading. I, however, do. Sometimes I will follow along in the book while the audiobook's going on. Other times, what I actually like about audiobooks more is you have more free range to do what you want. You can have the book playing while you're cooking, cleaning, playing a video game, outside gardening, doing sports stuff, taking a shower. You know, you can listen to an audiobook practically doing anything except for listening to music, because you kind of can't contradict the two. But besides that, you can pretty much listen to an audiobook while you're doing anything. And you're getting the same story as the person who's physically reading the book. You're just not physically reading the book, but you're still reading a book. So, you know, even when you're exercising, you can listen to an audiobook. Audiobooks have gotten me through a really good chunk of my books last year, so I'm not going to lie. It's not cheating to me. You're getting the same story as somebody physically reading the book. So I would say audiobooks is a very big tip, and it will help you a lot. So don't get shunned away because somebody says, you're not reading a book. You are reading a book. There's tip number 4. Alright, tip number 5. Reading off of a Kindle or an ebook. So what makes these really nice is it gives you the feel that you are like reading off of your phone, or like you're looking on your phone or tablet, and it kind of gives you that feeling that you are playing on your phone, but really you're reading. It also gives you a nice vibe with you're scrolling through faster, so it makes it feel like you're reading more than you actually are, but because there's so much that can fit on a screen and compared to a book. So the ebook and the Kindle stuff is really nice to use because it makes it feel like you're on a tablet playing a game, or you're on your phone doing something. Just kind of gives you that vibe, because a lot of people these days are on their phone or they're on a tablet or some form of technology, and so reading an ebook or using a Kindle kind of gives you the same type of vibes, at least to me. So there you have tip number 5. Tip number 6. Don't neglect short stories or novellas. They do pad your stats, and they do count. I've read tons of good short stories and novellas. I've done tons of videos on them. Check them out on my YouTube channel if you have not so far. But there have been really good ones I have read. A solid chunk of them have been 4 stars or higher. So don't think they don't count, or don't neglect them. Don't, read them, because they count and they're really good. I've read a whole bunch from Stephen King, Keelan Patrick Burke, a whole bunch of other authors. I can't remember off the top of my head, but those 2 stick out the most. So don't neglect short stories, novellas, or anything like that, because they do pad the stats, and they are good. So there you have tip number 6. Tip number 7. Watch Booktubers recommendation videos. So find some Booktubers on YouTube that you like and listen to their recommendations. Hear what they have to say, not like directly to you, but to you about books. That is what got me more intrigued with a bunch of other books, is I watched some Booktubers who I found who I really enjoyed and listened to their recommendations, and really ended up enjoying more than like 70-80% of the books that were recommended from them. So, and then watch my recommendations. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to this video, my channel. But yeah, I would find some Booktubers who you enjoy, who like the same genres as you, or even branch out genres. If you're contemplating something else, find somebody else, and then, watch their recommendations and see what they like, and then see if you like it. So that's what I did this year or last year, and it really helped. So there's tip number 7. Tip number 8. Utilize your local library. So what I mean with that is, if there's a couple of books that you want to get, but you don't necessarily want to purchase them, or you don't think you'll end up liking them, go to your local library, rent them out, read them, get a couple. Get like 5, 6. I don't know if there's a limit at libraries. I know ours, I don't think it has a limit. But utilize a library. Get some books you're contemplating, read them. Heck, if you like it, then buy it. You've already read it. Now you can own it and be like, yeah, I have this book. So I would utilize libraries because they're very helpful. It's kind of like it's kind of like pre-owning a book. If you end up liking it, then you can own it. If you don't like it, then you don't need to own it. So you save yourself money that way too. So tips and tricks with money. There you go. But I would utilize libraries. It's very helpful, and that's something that I did this past year for a lot of books, and it helped a lot. It also helped me have the next book ready to go, right there, ready to read as soon as I was done with the other one. So there you have tip number 8. Tip number 9, don't stick to one genre. So if you're somebody who enjoys one genre and it kind of starts getting dull for you, expand out. So I personally am somebody who reads horror, thriller. I'm starting to get more into sci-fi. I want to get into more fantasy. I do read the occasional YA. But what I would say is broaden your horizons with those things. Don't get stuck on just one genre, because after a while it gets dull. Even I'll admit, when I had a streak where I read a couple of Kings in a row, I was like, holy crap, I'm tired of this. And I never thought I'd say that with reading Stephen King. So broaden your horizons with genres you want to read. I would also say kind of mix it up. You know, if after you read like a haunted house horror book, then go to like a psychological thriller, then go to some sci-fi fantasy, then go back to like a horror book. You know, kind of mix it up a little bit. Set yourself up with, you know, different vibes every now and again. If you want to read someone getting murdered, go ahead, and then the next one you read is Harry Potter. Whatever your vibe is, you know. That's what I would say. Broaden your horizons, change genres, and there's tip number 9 for you. And finally, tip number 10. Find a friend, find a buddy to do buddy reads with. It could be a spouse, a best friend, somebody on the internet, whatever it is. Find someone you can buddy read a book with to where you're both reading the book at the same time. You don't have to go at the same pace. If they finish first, then you finish. The big key thing is you discuss it at the end together and kind of get, thoughts and opinions on the same book from somebody else. And it's always fun to have somebody reading with you, so that way it's kind of like you guys are going and reading together, and kind of pushes you to finish the book because somebody else is reading the book with you and wants you to finish it. So that way it's not like you're counting on yourself to finish it. You got somebody else depending on you to finish the book too. So you can also be a group of people if you want to do like a group read. But Danielle and I do buddy reads every now and again, and she finishes before me because I work a lot, and so she typically finishes them first, then I'll finish it. Sometimes if it's a weekend off, we'll read it both together with an audiobook while we're hanging out doing stuff, and then we discuss it at the end. I'm typically always confused with books, and she's like, yeah, this is what happened. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, that's what happened. So find a buddy, group of friends, whatever it is, spouse, loved one, family, find someone to buddy read with and read some books with that person. And then that'll help you get through more books, is if you have somebody reading with you. And that's going to be the one big key thing, is finding someone to help read with you with my tip here. So that is tip number 10. So these are the tips that I used to help me get to 100 books last year. And hopefully they can help you get to 100 books plus in the years to come, or in 2021. Hopefully I can get to another 100 this year. That'd be swell. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you guys in the next video. Later.